Good morning. Oh, my lord. Well, here we are. I'm blessed with another day of life. L'chaim. Big privilege. That's the last of my proper candles with me. I think I can get them here, but it's more weight on my back if I'm moving. Especially if I'm moving, having to go down to St. Albans on Tuesday and live in the porch of the Baptist church. Well, my sort of human side is actually raging with this. And then the thought occurred that actually I'm being blessed. You see, who is our guide? Who is our example? Who was crucified? And he did no wrong. So what is it about the world that it crucifies you? Well, would I want to be on the side of the people doing the crucifying? That's the thing. And I made my choice a long time ago. When I left Bristol University, I was studying to be a medical doctor and part of the establishment, as it were. And actually, I read a book. My mother wanted the doctor. My brother was going to be an airline pilot. He is, in fact, now a top sports injuries consultant in Harley Street. Dr. Keith Bush, number 6 Harley Street, no less. They cancelled the airline thing, and so he got into the Royal Free. So there I am at Bristol, flying through my first year exams, as one does. And I just knew that that path wasn't right for me. So well before any of my troubles with women, no woman in my life then, at Bristol. And I walked off and went into Wales. Somehow I must have got there, probably hitched. And I remember I had matches, Swan, it would have been Swan, the ones you can light on the brick or the sole of your shoe or whatever. Swan Vestas. And they got wet, so I couldn't light my pipe. I used to smoke a pipe then. So forever afterwards, I had a lighter that would work. I've sort of got over that now. And I made my decision that studying medicine was not right for me. Yes, of course, we need good doctors, for heaven's sake. I was just there. This is the stuff, right? This is going to sort me out. Doxycycline. If I'd been in, literally in prison now, and I'm just within a hair's breadth of it not happening, jumping bail to get my kit at my own home and the pills, you try getting pills when you haven't got a doctor and you're out on the streets and you can't walk. Tricky. Anyway, didn't happen, so there we are. The Bristol story. And I just knew that wasn't right for me. I'd always wanted to be a doctor of souls. I had a missionary ancestor, William Ross, who trained with Dr. David Livingstone as missionaries together, both of them from Scotland, obviously. My William Ross was from a farm called Ardegaith Farm, where I've been. I deliberately went there once just to have a look-see. It's by Perth, not far from Perth in Scotland. Perthshire. And then I started scrolling through my years. I've got written in jail, actually. Sorry, in police custody, because you tend to have rather a lot of time and sort of nothing to do in a funny old way. And I turned to the Bible, actually. There it is. I've always asked them for a Bible. So all of this for what it's worth. Those are my years since 1990, when I met my former wife. And then Robert Francis came along in 1992, when I was 36 years old, I see. Just read it and written it up and all the rest of it. So all these preceding 31 years, again, would never have happened without meeting my former wife, who is an evil woman, and who shall be nameless. None of them would have happened. I would have been just a nice sort of middle-class bunny, collecting my very substantial sums of money for being a professional and a doctor. And I've always fancied going into oncology, cancer medicine. Somehow that's what I felt I would have been drawn to if I'd gone on with it. Yeah, light, the light of Christ shining. Well, I'm 64 now, so, that's been my life. Dominated by a marriage to an evil woman and the subsequent, and the child coming very easily, Robert Francis, my son, and the subsequent utter injustice of what then occurred through the English legal system. The authorities in England. I was judged a man inappropriate to have parental authority over my own son, for heaven's sake. My mother was a maternity sister. She never saw a grandchild. She never said a word, never once. None of this would exist. Look at me. There's a record of my 3,500 films. And I'm going through them. And taking small screenshots. And I'm going to present that as part of my defense. No one else could have done that. Only, you see, no one else can do this. And I can only do it because I've been through God's refining fire. That's it. So it has to be. And lo and behold, it's turned up again in my life. This injustice from the world, brought about by wicked people. So that seems to be the way of it. God wants me to be taught lessons, shown things, by encountering wicked people. Just hear a seagull mewing, the youngsters. I wouldn't be here. I'd be in my home in Alnwick, but I wouldn't have been moving to that. I would have still had my home in Newport Pagnell, no doubt. So there's no point in saying if or but or maybe, and it might have been, and it should have been, or it could have been. My son is dead. I will not cut my hair or my beard until I die. Because they both grow, I'm living for him too. Makes a horrid smell if you burn it. It's an awful smell. Burnt hair. I mean, look what happened to the Jews, for heaven's sake, in the Holocaust. What was that all about? And that's just one example of mankind's inhumanity to their fellow human beings. British Aerospace manufacture and sell the arms to Saudi Arabia, which are used to more effectively kill people in Yemen. Oh, and if we don't supply them, someone else will. So why shouldn't we have the taxes? Well, I'm afraid that's evil too. That makes England an evil little country, quite frankly. I've got to live somewhere. Well, no, I think actually, quite frankly, the world would be happier if I just popped my clogs. There would be no light shining in their darkness, the light of Christ, no less. So here we are on Sunday, I wish I had a brain. The 25th, I think. This was a Blackadder joke, saying to poor old Baldrick. Baldrick, he says. I didn't like the blooming chap, the main chap. I just don't like him. But I like Baldrick, actually, the actor. He's a classically trained actor. And who's got the family brain cell this week? Meaning, clearly, you haven't even got one brain cell, Baldrick. Poor old Baldrick. He was the sidekick, wasn't he? In comedic terms. So, where's this leading? God's the boss. Love God. Love your neighbour as yourself. Which means loving yourself. That second commandment. You can't love the world or your part of it if you're not at peace within yourself. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to achieve. And seemingly God has other plans for me. None of this would be happening if those people hadn't been there, if I hadn't been led to St. Michael's Square and those people were there. I mean, what was that, me buying this woman a motor car? What was that all about? I'm not an idiot. You know, it meant to be for the Christian Broadcasting Place, my company. I wanted to expand into something. This that I do. God's the boss, but I'm the blooming boss of my company because I'm the only one. So the car would have been in my name, for heaven's sake, and it would have been transport for my developing Christian Broadcasting Place. But little God got drowned. Oh dear, poor little motor car. Such a sweet little motor car. Handled really well, actually. I drove it off-road somewhere. Handled really well. Sharp. Those Italians make good machinery. And it was a 4-door, and I could get into it with my bad leg and everything. So it was roomy. I've been in a mate's 350 Mercedes Benz, and it was a real struggle to get in. You were sort of cramped, and it was all black, whereas my little car, I almost said our little car. I mean, I bought it for that woman, so none of that would have happened either. We could have died. I think it's 3 weeks ago now, 2 or 3, whenever it was. Friday the 25th of June. Probably 4 weeks, isn't it? 4, 7 to 28. Must be 4 weeks. None of that would have happened. You know, one thing leads to another. I wouldn't have this longing in me to bring the light of Christ to shine in the dark world. And there's such a longing. I mean, I haven't achieved, in my eyes, anything yet. I think I've got a total of 210,685 views when I did that review of my films back in Tuesday, the 8th of June. And I was at Alnwick, Northumbria, England. So getting on for 250,000 views. But so what? It's not the number, is it?